sermon application video for Saturday. In 3, 2, 1. All right, well, welcome back. We are in the last day of our sermon application video that we started last Sunday, where we were really starting to dig into the story of Joseph. And we kind of learned yesterday as we were going through chapter 44 that he wanted to see his little brother Benjamin. Remember, there were 12 brothers in the family. His 10 older brothers were the ones that hated him and sold him into slavery, but he wanted to see his little brother Benjamin. So he basically tells his brothers, hey, I'm not going to sell you that much grain. I want to see Benjamin. If you say that you have this little brother, I want to see him. And unless you bring him to me, I'm not going to sell you any more grain. So the guys go back home and Jacob's like, I thought I sent you to buy a lot of grain. You didn't buy that much. He was like, look, this Pharaoh, or this governor of Egypt, he is really weird. He's acting really strange to us. He kept one of our brothers and says he's only going to release him if we prove that we're not lying. So we've got to take Benjamin. And Jacob just doesn't want to send Benjamin. But he's like, he really has no choice. If they want to survive, they need to buy grain. So he goes ahead and lets Benjamin go. And we are going to get into a little bit today of just one of the most emotional scenes in all of literature, in my opinion. And this is where Joseph finally faces his brothers face to face and the ending of it. And as you get in and read this ending, maybe you want to come back and click on this and just kind of watch this part over again. But as you watch this, or as you watch it in your mind, as you read through this last part of this story that we're going to go through, we're going to be in chapter 45, verses 1 through 15. And it's all going to culminate with all of his brothers together. And just put yourself in Joseph's shoes, because now you have yet another decision that you have to make, a decision you never thought you're going to have to make. You were sold as a slave, but now you're the prime minister of Egypt, in control of so many things. And here you are faced with a decision of, what do you do with your brothers who hated you so much, who had so much jealousy for you? They sold you into slavery, hoping they would never see you again. In fact, they never thought they'd see him again, and then lied to your father for the rest of their lives. How do you make a decision like that? Most of us, if we're honest, if we had that much power, we would inflict revenge. We would say, payback time. But it's so awesome how Joseph does this. Because once again, and as you read, he leaves the room and weeps, and he weeps so loud, he's crying so loud that people all over where he's at in other rooms, they can hear him crying because he's crying so loud, because he doesn't know what to do. He's not sure if they've changed, and he's not sure, do I get revenge, and then maybe could that further break my father's heart, or do I do what God did for me? God rescued me. He rescued me when I was in the pit and they didn't kill me. He rescued me when I became great in Pharaoh's household, or in Potiphar's household. He rescued me when I was in the dungeon and became great and powerful in the dungeon. And then yet he rescued me again when I became very powerful in Egypt, being only under Pharaoh. I'm powerful over everybody else. I mean, God rescued me through all those difficult times. So what story do I want to tell now? And I mean, it's pretty much a given. We talked about it on Sunday, just how he says, I'm your brother Joseph, and I'm going to take care of you. And that's what you're going to read today. And just imagine yourself, read through it a couple of times. Imagine yourself on both sides. Imagine yourself as one of his siblings. And you did this horrible thing 15, 20 years ago and sold him into slavery and then lied about it for the rest of your life. And then having that extended arm of grace when you know he could have you put to death. And then flip over and imagine yourself as Joseph. What do? You could get payback, you could get revenge and make everything cool. You can just, hey, I was large and in charge, I'm going to have my revenge because that's what, I want my revenge. But he doesn't do it. And it really is a pretty cool parallel correlation, Joseph and God. Because Joseph's brothers, like you and like me, we've made really, really bad mistakes. And I don't think we have to, think too hard of a decision that we wish we could go back and remake, because we didn't apply the question of, wow, do we want that a part of our story? Because as we're living our story now, we wish we could go back and make a different decision because we don't want that a part of our story, but it is. And God, in all of his grace, reaches down. Just like Joseph, he's going to say, get up. I love you. I want to take care of you from now for the rest of your life. That's what I want to do. But you need to tell a God-honoring story from this point forward. You need to submit. And the cool thing with Joseph is he doesn't make them, live up to, and neither does God. We don't have to make up for anything. It's just we need to make the choice. Do we want to accept the grace that's been extended to us? Or do we want to make the choice to go the other way and continue living the way that we've just always been, knowing that in the future there's probably going to be more decisions we're going to make that we're going to regret? And we have an opportunity today to accept the grace of God and start living from this day forward, applying this question of what story do we want to tell to tough decisions that we make. What story do we want to tell in our lives? Because if you're a parent, your story is your kid's story. As you kind of learned from day one with Jacob, his story, he had a favorite son and made it very well known. And that started Joseph's story off badly because now his brothers hated him for that. And Joseph didn't help anybody, the whole dreaming thing and saying his brothers were going to bow down to him. But it didn't start that great. Parents, your story starts with your kids, or it ends up with your kids, because when they start their story, they start with you. And your story is either going to inspire your kids to greatness, or it's going to be something that they never want to replicate. So we need to tell God-honoring stories, and that's for even if you're not married, you're not a parent, you're trying to live the way God wants you to live. In these tough decisions that we make every single day, every single time, it's not a hard question to ask. What story do we want to tell? But yet it takes a very, very courageous person to want to tell a God-honoring story. It's going to take courageous decisions to make your story one that isn't anything that you're going to want to lie about. It's nothing that you're going to want to leave out and not tell somebody. So thank you so much for tuning in this week for the sermon application videos. Hope you're going to enjoy reading this last part and just really picture and imagine this amazing scene of literature take place. We're going to be in Genesis 45 verses 1 through 15. And I hope you guys make it a wonderful and blessed day. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow for service. God bless.